Now, the GPX750R is an icon of the 80s. And all through the 80s, being honest now, I wish I had one, and I didn't. And I had several other bikes at the time, but I did not have one. Well, I was lucky enough to get one and use it as a track bike for, I think, 4 or 5 years. And then we wound up getting a second one. Luciano found a second one. We went and got it, and I made one really good bike from the two. And if you want to watch this in 4K, adjust your device accordingly. Well, the open road is calling today, and we have hit the best weather, I think, this summer of any summer I can remember. But it's always, at the end of the day, at the noontime and past noon, it's hot, so we want to get out there early. Step one is always, boring as it is, moving motorcycles around and getting the one we want to ride out, get it pre-flighted, and get out of here. So because this looks like it's going to be such a beautiful day, it's actually a little cooler than normal. I'm really excited about getting out there and not having to come back like a wet rag, soaking sweaty. Anyway, getting the bikes ready, always good exercise. And if you only knew, all of these bikes, every one of them, they have a meaning in my life. They're all iconic. They all have a very special little piece of history and part of my life. And every one of them, there's no exceptions. I just look at them and they're like my children, and every time I get to ride a different one, it kind of floats my boat that I don't have to ride the same bike or the same 1 or 2 bikes every day. And today is going to be a unique day. This will bring me back to the 80s when I did not have one of these, and I want to keep it as nice as possible. The whole restoration of this bike, and actually all the bikes, is on our channel. And when you look at the detail, now I made this bike from 2 bikes. It really is an evil twin of sorts. And I have all the spare body work. And I took the best of everything, the best tank, the best motor, the wheels, the exhaust system. And I made one bike, and it became a very interesting winter that I did that. And it's all out on the channel, of course. Of course, feeding the fish in the morning, taking care of Karen's garden. She's about as excited as I am. We're entering a nice cool day here. We're going to have lunch out on the porch. The fish are going to enjoy not being in 90-degree weather. I wonder how warm the water actually gets. Anyway, her flowers are blooming away. We have fresh flowers every day, fresh vegetables. Just couldn't have been a better summer. And looking forward to getting a ride on this GPX750R. It's a special bike to me. It's truly an icon. Now, what makes these, I think, just a little bit better than average, and of course it's in the eye of the beholder, they really scream. They're high RPM, and that Muzzy muffler, you just feel like you're driving an Indy car. I don't know, it's a hard thing to explain to people that don't enjoy that. And they are very lightweight, and they are very nimble. It's one of the reasons I think all of the people that have ever owned one consider them to be very iconic. And when I put this together, I had the choice of 2 motors. One was a track day motor that had been modified and had been used on the track for many years, and a stock street motor. I went with the stock street motor, and I'm glad I did. can clearly remember back in the 80s, the late 80s, I really thought, boy, these were just floated my boat. And Ray had one. Many of my friends had them. And at the time, I was involved in working 2 jobs and trying to pay off a house, and it just didn't work out that I got one. And I had to limit my motorcycle collection to a certain degree. But having 2 of them now, the really nice part about having 2 is I have an endless supply of spare parts. I've used a lot of them, like the spare wheels. I've used the starter, and it's nice to have them in stock. And years ago, my friend Kent Tyser got a Camaro that's this color, and I just thought, wow, I love the color of the car. I went and bought the paint and thought it'd be a unique color to have a Kawasaki, since most of their bikes are some shade of green. Now, one of the really labor-intensive parts of doing this bike restoration, I had 2 seats, and both had cracks and chips and whatever in them, and I wanted to put a custom tail light and make that like a cafe racer seat, and it wound up being a real labor of love to do that and I made my own hugger from scratch, and all the carbon fiber work for that. Again, that's just some of the things that are out on our channel right now. Now, having 2 sets of wheels was really handy when I was testing tires. I had Bridgestones, I had Dunlops, and the Pirelli Sport Demons seemed to be the best compromise, because it does have a 16-inch front wheel and 18-inch back wheel. You just have a limited amount of choices, and those tires seem to be the best compromise for me. And special thanks to John Pothier, who came up with these very special graphics for the bike, one-of-a-kind graphics. And there's a long story about that red R. It's on the video, believe me. And the stripe on the wheel is painted, not tape. And I've had several different mufflers on the bike over the years, and the Muzzy that I got from Luciano, and thank you, Luciano, I like the sound of the Muzzy, and it's got a nice rumble, and it's not really too loud unless you really wind it up over 10,000. And the problem is I'm always winding it up over 10,000. And the sound is wonderful. And the bike has a lot of unusual features. It's got the anti-dive, which marginally probably works. I don't give it a lot of credit, but it's okay. It's better than nothing, that's for sure. And the neat thing, it's got air suspension in the back, so to change the overall suspension, there's no knobs or anything. All you have to do is just put a little more air in or a little bit less, and you can adjust the dampening with a little rod that attaches to the shock. I think that part of it was pretty much way ahead of its time back in 1989, but all the bikes have it now. I've also found a little thing that might be useful to other people. This bike is very sensitive, because I think the 16-inch front wheel, very sensitive to lowering the forks. I've lowered them, raised them, lowered them back, gone to the middle. I found a sweet spot that's good for me on these back roads. but it's very sensitive to that adjustment. Again, I think it's because of having the 16-inch front wheel. And when I designed up the paintwork for this bike, I did a lot of sketching. John Pothier helped me by making the black and white versions of the files so that I could color them in with colored pencils. And I went for I was going to make different choices of color, and I spent a lot of time. But once I got that Camaro green and painted a few test parts, and I used the Yamaha blue, and it was like a purpley blue, that combination really floated my boat. And I really did lay this all out ahead of time. I had the computerized sewing machine. I put the logo in the seat. A lot of the styling was done on pencil and paper, and a really lot of masking tape. Now, one of the little projects I've always thought would be cool for the future would be to make another set of bodywork for this bike, but make it a naked bike. Make it like an MT-09. I have a spare seat, tank, fenders, all of the stuff, and a set of fairings, but I'd like to have a naked version of the bike. That would be unique to this day and age, maybe, and maybe that'll be coming up very soon. I don't know. The problem is, I never know until it actually happens what's really going to float my boat. But what really does float my boat about this bike, it loves the back roads, it loves the switchbacks, the twisties. It's real comfortable on Route 80 when you're cruising at a few miles over the speed limit. It's just an overall good bike. I don't know how to describe that, because I have had bikes in the past that I was kind of disappointed. They were advertised to be great, but they weren't icons. And that is truly an iconic power band on this bike. That is, and with the Muzzy muffler, I don't know, it's mesmerizing to take it up full RPM, go through the gears, back off the gas, listen to it rumbling in that pipe. It's just like, to me, it's like driving an Indy car or driving anything that sounds great. And back in the late 80s when I'd see these being developed and my friends having them, I was kind of an eat your heart out guy, but now that I own two of them, and I've had years on the track with them and years of street riding, this one's got over 36,000 miles. I think it's at 38 right now. It's a great bike. Another beautiful day weather-wise. Another just beautiful ride on my best friend sometimes. He was a good track bike. He's a good street bike. He's just a good bike. So I hope you're enjoying the videos and enjoying riding your bike collection. And as always, thanks guys so much for watching.